In this video, we'll be covering how Microsoft CSP Partners can maximize profits and go to market with the Jamcracker Service Delivery Network. Now, since this video is over 20 minutes long, I've put this slide together showing you the topics we'll be covering and the start time for each of them. With that, let's begin.
Keeping with the theme of maximizing profits and getting to market faster, I want to first start with talking about maximizing profits. And really that gets down to differentiating yourself, adding value so you can get those extra profits, right? And looking at how do you accomplish that, you offer a variety of services that, while it's important to have all of the Microsoft offerings available, you want to be able to package those up different ways. Maybe combining it with some of your professional services, or even, if you look at infrastructure as a service offerings, instead of just providing access to Azure or other clouds like AWS, etc., you want to be able to create value-added or really best practices templates for your clients. So maybe your company has some expertise in security, and what you'd like to do is, as a value add to your clients, provide templates that have maybe hardened Apache configuration or other policies related to security with some base templates so that your customers can get started from a place instead of just a generic operating system. They can get started with something that's already been hardened. And so the point here is that you really want to have a variety of service offerings, whether they're singularly offered as a software as a service like Veraware or Office 365 or SharePoint, but then also infrastructure as a service offerings, obviously, the major cloud providers like Amazon, Azure, even private cloud, VMware, OpenStack, CloudStack, those sorts of things. Then you want to be able to bundle them together, such as this one here, a Microsoft 365 bundle, where I just created the sample bundle where you're not only getting Office 365, but you're getting an Office 365 migration. This could be something that talks about, migrating from an on-premise Exchange implementation to an Office 365. And so, having the ability to do that and having different offers per service. So you might want to, for each of these services, could have potentially multiple offerings for that service. In this case, I have only one, it's EMS E3, but there's also an E5 package that could appear here as a different price. So whether you want to change the terms, maybe it's having a monthly price or an annual price, or if you want to actually have different feature sets like the E3 versus E5 Enterprise Mobility Suite, creating catalog items for each of those, or maybe a single catalog item with different options, making it easy for your customers to see that is important. So being able to bundle things together, offer a variety of services, maybe just professional services offering, those are the types of things you need. Your catalog needs to be varied, it needs to be differentiated, you need to include your services and any expertise you have, such as in security or mobile or those sorts of things. If you get a really large catalog, it's obviously important to have abilities like being able to search for items and categorize things by a certain type of product or by the provider. Those are all important in the catalog. Right? And not only the product offerings that you have, but whether it's one-time charges, like a migration might be a one-time charge, but you want to have some ongoing charges for an Office 365 subscription. You need to be able to handle all those different sorts of billing models. It could be usage-based with Azure VMs and data transfer on Azure that gets charged, but based on usage, or it could have per license based, like Office 365 user licenses. You need that flexibility in catalog. The Jamcracker platform certainly has that, and we've had that for a long time. Another way to differentiate yourself and to really provide some value, I think one of the things we hear about a lot is identity management and being able to federate to different systems. In a large enterprise, obviously, governing the services that you have requires you to have a good identity framework so that you have one place where you're managing your users and you don't have to do it in 30 different systems. And so tying into identity management systems is important. As I switch over here to more of our back end where we would go and things like set up the different services and the different portals, or it's called member management in the stores. I'll take a look here at one of those stores or portal storefronts where you have the capability to brand these and white label those that Ash had mentioned earlier, and change a lot of settings, including what's available in the store, what are the different policies in that store. But looking at, for instance, identity management, as I was mentioning, you can enable that, and whether you want to sync with Active Directory or use a SAML-based approach, for more of a federated service like this ADFS or Okta or others. We have the capability of doing that. So, here if I enable AD, I could enable all the different parameters to allow that, do the mapping to make sure I know what groups or attributes in Active Directory get mapped to what in Jamcracker. You have the ability to do that on a per organization basis. Here I'm looking at a store that's set up for an individual organization. Obviously, you'll need to attach into their Active Directory. And there are various options too, since you're going to be generally outside of their firewall. There's going to be some things to be concerned with there with security. So we would deploy a Jade agent, which basically avoids the Active Directory firewall ports being open, but actually using a custom agent that would stream that in a more secure fashion. So identity management at each store level is important. It allows you to not only come in and access the services within the store. It could be something that they're using just generically for their organization. They come in, they sign into the PC, they single sign on, and now they have access to everything, whether it's cloud services or other network features they have, other local resources. It could be signing into some of the services that they have, maybe launching Office 365 remotely. Whether you're and there's a lot of, I'm not saying whether, there are a lot of different ways this can be sliced and diced with Active Directory and federating. Who's the identity provider? Jamcracker could be that. It could be somebody else. Single signing on is important. So there's a lot of flexibility in our platform supporting various identity models, regardless of the protocols in use. Whether it's SAML or even OAuth, it really doesn't matter. Identity management and being flexible on that is very important, and is one way you can help differentiate yourself. Now, looking at, if you're trying to bring clients in and win them over, you oftentimes are going to be dealing with clients who already have some Azure virtual machines out there, or Amazon, or even their own VMware again. And so you need to be able to support those brownfield situations, as well as the greenfield ones where it's a company that's just coming up for the first time. They maybe don't have any cloud accounts. You need to be able to support both methods. So either you just create an account in here and enter that information, or you can go and import resources from any of those cloud providers. And here's an example of one way that we can import virtual machines. As an example here, it brings up basically an Excel template where you can fill out the information, determining what you want to import, and then basically you upload that into the platform. And it would then appear, basically those instances would appear in the infrastructure as a service, single pane of glass dashboard for all the vendors, Azure, AWS, OpenStack, whatever it is. You can see whether it was something that was imported or not, and you can then bring them under management to get all of the operation control you need, managing volumes, networks, etc. Okay. So importing, when you think, I think it's very important to make sure that you're addressing those brownfield situations. Because oftentimes customers don't feel the pain until they feel the pain, right? They actually have to have too many cloud services and virtual machines and multiple clouds before they start to want to address that pain by calling on someone like you. And so being able to handle those brownfields is very important. Looking at additional managed services you can offer. So this here is a storefront. This could be something that you allow your customers to access directly, or maybe as part of a managed service, this is more of your control panel where you're coming through and doing things on their behalf. Maybe those customers would find some value in, for only certain users, to be able to see certain catalog items. Maybe finance needs to be something different from sales, for instance. Here we have the ability to define multiple departments. In this demo I only have one, but with each of the departments there, you can view the details to see what are the services available to that department, and maybe add or remove them as needed, so that you can guarantee the right groups of people are able to see the right things in the catalog. That's sort of what I call a catalog policy. And these are all, as you can tell, they're going to be unique. So this could be, company A. It could be your other client, company B, has a similar screen, but they have a completely different set of departments and catalogs around that. You'd expose a master catalog to those stores, and then for each of those stores, you pick from that master catalog what you want to bring in, and then within that set, you then can break that down into what can each department see. That's, I think, an important functionality you need to have. You can also have various policies around, let's look at a cost-saving policy. Maybe your client is spending a lot on Azure, and they do a lot of dev test in the cloud, and on weekends, dev test really isn't working. Maybe that's the scenario. So that one way to save a pretty good amount of money is to turn off any machines that are dev test related on Fridays and turn them back on Mondays. So with the policy engine like we have in our platform here, you can do that. Basically add a new policy, give it a name and a description, and then pick the set of policy for any instances. So filter by here, this is important, giving you the ability to select only those virtual machines that you want to affect. This could be a tag that says, type equals dev test, whatever you like. You can standardize on whatever values you like, enter those filtering criteria, and then choose at that point to do a calendar policy. That would happen, as an example, maybe weekly on a Friday. Scroll down here. Friday, maybe at 4 p.m., I could then go and, maybe stop the server, right? And then also maybe send an email notification if you like. You could also then create, an additional policy for on Mondays to turn those back on, right? As you can see that. Some other value add you could be bringing to is helping to automatically resize the applications that they might have deployed in Azure or other clouds. And so, using an instance monitoring capability, either with our onboard and included monitoring engine, or with your own, or with even the client's own. And if you're using external monitoring, you just use some APIs to do this. But using our platform with the embedded one, you basically could take an event like maybe when the memory utilization goes above 80% for 5 samples in 10 minutes, then you want to maybe increase scale up ramp. And if it goes below for a certain amount of time, you scale it back down. And so being able to dynamically resize, whether it's scale up and increasing the size of the machine in some way, or scale out, basically adding machines to clusters. Both of those are available with policy, with the policies that we have in our platform. Looking further at some of that, some of the governance capabilities and some of the value add you can bring around helping to make sure that the client is spending the money wisely, and really giving visibility into what they're spending on, again, in a unified format, not having to go to 5 different cloud providers and get a report from each one and try to correlate it all, but having one specific dashboard like this IaaS dashboard here. We can see the overall cloud expenses over whatever period you like. You use different attributes if you like. You get current and estimated usage for the month, and then look at maybe top 5 instances, top 5 products, those sorts of things. Get a view as to what's actually running, get some more detailed usage data from any particular vendor you like. Having the ability to, to get those sorts of analytics around what they're deploying and how they're being used, what's popular and what's not, I think can be very valuable when it comes to, some governance and cost management there. All right, so let's take a look now. We'll go back to our back end and take a look at, more of the back end business aspects that you as an MSP care about. You're reselling services. Sometimes you're just selling your own. You need to have the pricing support to identify what are your costs, what are the wholesale prices. If there's a minimum retail price you need to set, what is that? And then what are the actual sale price? And so taking a look at the different services, we find one here, maybe this Dynamics 365. I'll take a quick look. In addition to all the sort of marketing and the descriptions of how you want to appear in the catalog, you can look at the different offers that are available. And then, we'll take a look at this first one here, the Dynamics. And say, okay, this could be, with each of the products, it could be different pricing models. It depends on the vendor, and it depends on how you want to offer it. You pay as you go, pay per user. It could be a month-to-month subscription or a term subscription, the minimum term, those sorts of things. And then here's where we get into the pricing information. In this case, it's price per user. There's a minimum quantity of 500. And you can look at, it's paid monthly. Could be, other periods if you like. Is there a setup fee involved? Do I prorate that first month? These are all important controls to have when you're trying to define the pricing and understand your costs. Then you can look at the cost from the vendor. Maybe this costs per user $50, but then you want to offer that out to the different portals or stores. Offer to them at $60. Maybe you charge $68 as a minimum retail. And then the store owner themselves, or the person controlling that portal, can then define what are the actual prices. Maybe they need to charge an uplift to handle some overhead, or maybe they just take, whatever the minimum price they're allowed to take. You have the ability to define the different tiers of pricing. There's these single prices, there's these sort of the default prices that you would have for those services. But if you also want to have special prices, maybe with special contracts with different clients, you can do that by basically picking out here. In this case, it's called a reseller. These labels can be easily changed. But it could be another portal or another client. You pick them, and then you go and set the slightly different prices for that client because they have a different contract. Right? So we'll talk about custom price books or custom line cards. There's definitely some capabilities to do that. Promotions, maybe you want to have a free 30-day trial, something that either automatically gets purchased at the end or terminates. Various support around adding different types of promotions and trials. It's important to have that built in. Order management functionality, obviously. If there's different types of orders, you want to fulfill part of it. Maybe it's a bundle and it takes some time to deliver one part. Maybe it's a hardware delivery. You'd be able to manage those orders. Maybe even supply some discounts, those sorts of things. Those are all important. When you look at what you need to do on an ongoing business basis, regardless of the services you're selling, you need to understand who to pay and what to collect from everybody, right? And so if you're doing things with credit cards, that's obviously going to be, what you're going to be collecting from the clients is going to be handled through that merchant account. But if you have PO-based solutions, you have a pre-approved credit agreement with your clients, you need to be able to handle that, and you need to know what you need to be collecting from them on that monthly basis or quarterly basis, whatever it may be. So running a settlement report is one way to help us understand everything from soup to nuts. What were our costs and what did we charge the clients, and what do we get back for that? So if I go ahead and run this report here quickly, we'll basically get a settlement report in a CSV format that's going to show us the different costs involved at the different levels, where they were purchased, etc. This is one report that we use to be able to bring that out. And whoops, there we go. It's spelled a little bit slow. So looking at some of the data you get in this report is, what is the store, what is the storefront, any resellers involved, who's the actual customer, order number, invoice number, the date, what the invoice amount was, etc. And you have a ton of data in here, right? So you can really provide any financial analysis, sort of different ways, group things so that that a Veraware needs to be paid a certain amount. You can look at the retail pricing, any taxes involved. You can look at wholesale amounts, etc. So these settlement reports are ways to help you manage your business, manage the supply chain, and the costs involved there. The last thing I'd like to show, I'm going to hand this back to Ash really quickly, is at the store level, if you have the clients going and using this themselves, they can also get a look at what their chargeback are. And this is really some of the value you're bringing, right? You're bringing a unified bill. They could be purchasing things from Microsoft. They could be purchasing things from other vendors, Amazon, Everywhere, Moti, etc. You have the ability to show invoices within the platform. If you just want to use our invoice system, that's great. You have the ability to show these sort of multi-vendor single bills, regardless of however many services, whether they're software as a service with a recurring payment fee or a usage-based service like Azure or Amazon. You can do that with the chargebacks or invoices functionality within our platform. But that's not the only way to do it. If you already have an advanced billing system and you want to get big daily bill feeds to that, that's certainly something we can do. And then you can have the custom invoicing that you're already doing today, just add the cloud services into that and handle those things the way you want. So I think those are all really important. I talked about differentiating yourself by having different types of services and the flexibility around the costing and pricing and billing models. That's important. Handling various identity management schemes. You need to be flexible there and support the different ways that your clients want to work, whether it's Active Directory or some federation service. Getting handle both greenfield and brownfield, obviously, getting all the markets available to you. And then look at all the different managed services you're offering, whether it's migrations or actually running the brokerage as a managed service. That's another one we see that's a common model as well, where you're actually doing all this for the client. They're just accessing the applications. They don't have to think about any of it. That's some real value for them. And obviously you need to have all the financial tools to understand what your costs are, what you need to pay out. You need to be integrated to your payment gateways if you handle credit cards and tax systems. Our platform has done that with many currencies and many tax systems over just about every continent.
Thank you for watching this video where we've discussed how the Jamcracker Service Delivery Network can enable Microsoft CSP Partners to get to market quickly with Azure and hybrid infrastructure as a service, subscriptions to Office 365 and other software as a service products, as well as higher margin products including your own value-added offerings and professional services. It does this via robust functionality around flexible catalog with bundling and rich pricing flexibility, as well as flexible identity management, tools for onboarding and importing cloud resources, policies for catalog entitlement and cost reduction, as well as the cost and financial management backend capabilities you'll need. And lastly, we took a look at the consolidated customer invoices available in the system. So thanks again for watching. If you want any more information, please contact us at information@jamcracker.com.